I'm back with another video. This video is going to be looking at Marcus Rashford's return to form and how his form has skyrocketed this season for Manchester United under Erik ten Hag. Now, before we get into the tactics and some of the concepts behind Rashford's improvement this season and return to his very best, with potential levels to be added to his game, check out the Once.Video analyzer. There's a link in the description below. It's how I'm going to be looking at Marcus Rashford's performances and the concepts behind his improvement this season. Also, if you want to check out the full blog article, if you like blog content better, the link to this article is going to be in the description below. And I'm partnering with Be Your Best or Be Your Best Pro. It's a virtual reality that helps players improve their scanning. Super exciting to be working with them and having this analysis coincide with their work. So all that is in the description below, as well as my books. If you're interested into some more tactical content, I got my books and my course in the description below. But let's get right into Marcus Rashford's performances and the concepts behind his improvement. So right here, right away, we see Marcus Rashford in the center of the field in transition versus City. And the first thing we're going to talk about is how Marcus Rashford exploits the blind side of the defenders in transition moments and entering the final third in the penalty area. So when we see the ball go wide to Garnacho, Ake is going to step out. Ake is going to step out to Garnacho, and at the same time, Marcus Rashford is going to exploit the gap that he leaves between the central defenders while first moving into the blind spot of Ake. So Ake can't see Rashford and the ball, so he'll have to decide. Ake will decide to go to Garnacho, step, and lose sight of Marcus Rashford, creating a 2 versus 1 in the middle. So just these slight movements make Marcus Rashford that much harder to defend in his game, especially this season, with just a slight movement going to the blind spot of the central defender. So the defender cannot see the ball and Marcus Rashford, giving him an advantage in the penalty area in terms of his reaction speed. So then when he arrives in the box, the other central defender will step across, and he's playing in line with the central defender, but gives him the positional advantage to arrive at the first half of the goal in the most dangerous situation. And by arriving at the first half to the center of the goal, he has the largest amount of goal to shoot at and the largest frame. So as the ball comes across, the goalie will adjust to the center, allowing Marcus Rashford to arrive at the ball at the perfect timing to then either pick the near post corner and use the goalkeeper's momentum against him, or go into the far corner where he has the whole goal to shoot at. And this leaves the defender at a very hard situation, because if he follows the run, the back post is completely free, so he has to split his positioning between two players and ultimately giving Rashford the near post. And at the same time, the first ball doesn't arrive from Garnacho, so he has to readjust his position, lower his center of gravity to allow him to change direction quicker and get back onside, all while staying within the front half of goal, so he still has a whole goal to shoot at. So these tiny movements and how he adjusts his body, lowers his center of gravity here, as we see he's at a very low angle, preparing for the second cross to arrive. All these little details go into his goal scoring form, and most of these goals come within the penalty box and these little adjustments and movements we see when he attacks the final third. Now we'll look at another transition moment with Casemiro now on the ball. He'll look for the pass in behind to Marcus Rashford, and again Marcus Rashford gets help from his teammates running across, dragging away central defenders, and again Marcus Rashford benefits this and is able to exploit the space between central defenders. So Marcus Rashford is just playing between central defenders here, and because of the run they'll be stretched out. So Marcus Rashford, his first movement will actually be away from the ball to ensure that his positioning is on the inside part and the goal side of the central defender, while using this defender as his reference point to stay onside. So you can see if he's onside, seeing directly across the line, he can move to get his body in the way of the defender and the ball to block the second central defender, giving him positional advantage over the two defenders, and he'll be the first to the ball arriving in behind. And this is actually how he scored his goal in the FA Cup, and it's a good bit of individual movement here and so subtle that it could go missed if you're not watching it back and paying close attention to how he moves in these key areas. And then we see the space he's awarded by having these slight movements. He's on sides because of the first central defenders as he's looking across the line. He has a lot of space to work with, both between central defenders and in behind, making it easy for him to go on and score his second goal of the match. Now we'll look at when Marcus Rashford plays in between the lines. Now we know he can play in the wide areas, often cutting in on his right foot, but an improvement for Marcus Rashford's game is his ability to play between the lines. So he plays between the lines much different than Christian Eriksen might or Bruno Fernandes. When Marcus Rashford plays between the lines, he'll often come deeper, attracting a defender, either the fullback or a central defender. And when this happens, space is left in behind for Marcus Rashford to use his athleticism and exploit this space, especially with passers on the ball like Bruno Fernandes, Christian Eriksen, and even Luke Shaw at times. Marcus Rashford benefits from this greatly with the narrow fullback as well, all around these key areas in the half spaces for Marcus Rashford to run into. So when the defender is attracted, he can either play a bounce pass with the defender, or he can spin off and access this space in behind, making these subtle movements, allowing Marcus Rashford to use his change of direction in a very purposeful way to exploit dangerous positions around the goal area and to use combination to the maximum with his teammates with these constant threats in behind and between the lines. It disrupts the back line and makes it very hard for them to stay compact and organized while maintaining a good offsides line. So again, we have Marcus Rashford here playing between the lines in a dangerous position, and in these areas he'll often look to get in behind, whether it's starting deeper or starting higher and dropping deeper to attract defenders, forcing them to jump out, all the while threatening the space in behind. So while he's doing this, he often benefits from his teammates as well, dropping between the lines, looking to get on the ball, especially players like Bruno Fernandes and Christian Eriksen dropping deeper in these areas. His teammates between the lines will be overloading the ball side, allowing Marcus Rashford to then be the goal threat and arriving deeper in the box. So when he starts in these positions, allows his momentum to build, allows him to use double movements to fake out his static defenders and manipulate their position to win space in dangerous areas. So these are all little things we can look for in Marcus Rashford's game, whereas a Bruno Fernandes, Christian Eriksen, or a more natural attacking midfielder may play in these little pockets, play between the lines, and look to receive just behind the midfield line to turn and use combination play. Marcus Rashford's game has become very good in front of goal, and his movements are all goal oriented, allowing him to become a real threat in the goal scoring positions. So now Marcus Rashford is just off our screen. We can just see him in the wide area, and he really benefits from the wide structure that Ten Hag implements within his team. So with Malacia now staying deeper and in a more narrow position, we can see a few different options Marcus Rashford will have. He often gets overlapped by his fullbacks, allowing him to then go right at the fullback or wingback of the opposing team, and or with underlapping runs, this often freezes the defenders in the back line, allowing Marcus Rashford to then cut in as well, with the back line being pushed back. But either way, Marcus Rashford is able to receive the ball and go at pace against the back line and the defenders for the opposing team, using all his strengths in possession and his athletic ability to run at defenders and get them on the back foot, with plenty of options to pass into the penalty area, especially when Luke Shaw plays in this role. He's left-footed, he can cut the ball back and cross and benefit from Marcus Rashford's involvement as well. So as we see, Malacia overlaps Marcus Rashford, allowing Marcus Rashford to cut in and benefit from combination play with Bruno Fernandes, threatening him behind, drawing out defenders, and using his momentum, giving him dynamic superiority to run in behind, playing little 1-2s with touches around the corner and all goal oriented, running at diagonally from the goal, allowing him to often finish with his right foot or set up a teammate across the box. Now we're going to take a look at Marcus Rashford's scanning, and as a winger in different situations he might scan more or less. Usually when he's out wide he'll scan less, but the first instance is when the teammate of his has the ball, takes his touch, and the ball is off of his foot. He'll make sure he's watching and not scan until the ball leaves his foot or his teammate here, Bruno Fernandes, has a negative body orientation, signaling that Marcus Rashford obviously won't get the ball. So right now, Marcus Rashford, as we see, scanning the dangerous space between the lines where he's going to arrive. So this is the space between the lines, often in the half space between the Wolves defense and midfield line. So this area is crucial. So first, he's taking the positional cues from Martial, his teammate. Martial is pinning a central defender. No players are occupying the space between the lines. Bruno Fernandes is most likely going to circulate the ball, and with his teammate occupying the width, he'll go through the space between the lines, and that makes scan number one, allowing him to make a conscious decision of his positioning, especially in the final third. Now, the second situation in this sequence is Luke Shaw on the ball in the half space. Luke Shaw takes his first touch. Marcus Rashford is then cued to scan. He scans for the width and the defenders and their positioning. So now, because width is created, he knows that the defenders are at least pinned to the wide area, so he'll have the added benefit from being able to use this pinning from his teammate in the wide area to stretch the opposing team. So now the only defender he knows he has to worry about is the central defender, who can jump to Marcus Rashford, but also he knows that Martial, as we just saw in the previous picture, is in the center, so the defender can't fully commit to Marcus Rashford because of the positioning of Anthony Martial. So oftentimes three central defenders will be pinned by two central strikers, and the wide center backs will jump only if their most central defender is free. So with this, Marcus Rashford knows he has a bit more space, even though it's in a low block and space is quite crowded. So he's going to use this to his advantage in this same sequence. So again, even as he's dropping deeper, he'll scan just to make sure that the pinning is successful. And as the ball is outside of Luke Shaw's foot, a good distance away from his body, this is a cue for Marcus Rashford to scan, because he knows the ball won't be played. So this gives him the time to scan before the ball arrives and take his last bit of positional cues before his critical scan, which is when the ball is traveling to him and he's awarded one more scan. And we even see some of his teammates taking away these same cues. Fred, between the lines, just past the midfielders, he's taking the same cue, scanning. Even Martial, we can see scanning some space, and all these players using the same cues Luke Shaw is giving, nonverbal forms of communication to scan, read the space, so they can all act within unity of one another. And then when Marcus Rashford gets on the ball, he's able to drive forward and close the space in the low block, attract pressure, and having the underrated skill of Marcus Rashford to combine in these key areas, because as we see at the highest level, it's very hard to break these teams down who sit in a low block and control the spaces and make it very hard to be broken down. So having a player who can read these, just drop outside the low block and drive forward with the ball, forcing the defense to commit and freeing up space for his teammates while having the threat in behind, are all very valuable keys for the team to use in the final third. So this is where we're going to end the analysis. I hope you guys enjoyed it, something a little different today. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.